that this is a job you love. It's not like a job, right? Because you come to work every day and you're doing something that you really enjoy. And that's really just super important. Um, I've been a counselor now for 8 years, prior to being a counselor. And I've been a general counselor and also a counselor for English language learners. Um, Prior to being a counselor, I was actually a school social worker for 16 years. I'm kind of dating myself. Um, and just talking a little bit about the role. Do you want me to talk about the role too here?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So basically, counselors serve as advocates, and we really work collaboratively with teachers, with parents, and with the community, with the goal really of supporting student achievement, right? So we're here to kind of support the whole educational system. What we really focus on, it's the personal social, so like the social emotional career, academic development of students. And so we do that through the curriculum, we do that through individual work, we do that through group work. Our goal really is to make sure that students are in a good place emotionally. You can't be a healthy learner if you're not healthy, right, physically and emotionally. So that's kind of really primary. Another goal of ours is really to help students develop the skills that they need. So from a developmental perspective, so that's our curriculum kind of addresses that. We really want students to be able to be engaged and also to identify personal and academic and career goals, right? Like we only have you for 4 years in high school. So part of our goal is to help you be ready for life after high school. And essentially, we really want to make sure that students are aware of all opportunities. So I see our role really key in making sure students understand what classes to take, right? What opportunities are available, so that all students can really achieve whatever their post-secondary goal is, whether it's college, trades, the military, just working. That's really our goal, is to support students. As far as what drew me to education, and I was a social worker and then I became a counselor. I think that what I really love about counseling is that it allows me to be proactive with students, right? So I'm really able to work with a student. They can let me know what they're interested in, and then I can make sure that they're aware of opportunities. And to me, that's really exciting. So you could go through high school and, there's so many examples. If you don't know we have a cosmetology program, right? You might not know that. If you share information like that with your counselor can really open doors for you and connect you with resources and opportunities. So for me, I'm just very passionate about it. I feel really strongly that when we're working with students as counselors, our role, like I said, is just to help them achieve the best version of themselves and make sure they're prepared for life after high school.
Fantastic. It's a great overview of being a counselor. Thank you for that. Mr. Castro, tell us a little bit about how and why you got into teaching and education, and a little bit about your role.
Sure. It's quite interesting. I was supposed to be a mechanic, and I think I would have been a great mechanic. However, I was, and there's nothing wrong with being a mechanic. However, I had a teacher really impact my life. I grew up in Chicago, and I was getting involved in many negative activities. And, I was having this identity crisis. Who am I in the midst of our society? Where do I fit in? And one of my teachers really inspired me and walked me through the process. He walked alongside me, but not only that, he also challenged me. And when I was thinking of of what career I wanted, I was like, what the heck, why don't I become a teacher? Although in my family there aren't many teachers, or in my immediate family, not many people had graduated from high school or from college. And so for me, when I saw what he did and kind of unpacked it, I saw that teaching is a revolutionary profession. You're fighting for democracy. You're fighting for children. You're fighting for the well-being of communities. And the goal of teaching is to prepare the next generation for the society in which they will live, right? And so for me, I was so inspired by that. I didn't want to have, I don't want to say this, but I didn't want to have a boring job, right? Where you do a 9 to 5, you go. I wanted something that would challenge me, but I would also feel rewarded that I've made a difference in our society, in our community. And I've never regretted the decision of becoming a teacher. I love it. And so that's a little bit of my story there.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. There are so many paths. Some people, right, they know from when they were, in kindergarten, that's what they want to do, and they play school at home. And that certainly wasn't my experience, and not everybody's, but that's great. You can have so many different paths to get here. Mr. Koziak, how about you? I know this was not your first career. So what kind of brought you into education yourself?
Well, thanks. And it was fun listening to Mr. Castro share a little bit of his experience and his thoughts. I was actually an engineer for almost 5 years. I was a civil engineer. I loved my job. A lot of people ask me, did you not like it? And is that why you switched? That's not the case. I was a physics teacher to start. So, I mean, the engineering aligns very well with that. But my favorite part of that job was educating the public. Part of my role, I worked for the Department of Natural Resources for the state of Illinois, and I had to do a lot of public education, and I loved teaching people. And I was also very involved in my youth group and had younger siblings, and really just found a passion for simplifying concepts and explaining concepts. And it really just drew me to education. And so I pursued a master's in secondary ed, and it brought me to Buffalo Grove High School, where I've been for 16 years. And 14 to 15 years of that, I taught physics and I taught AP Environmental Science. And I absolutely loved it. And this is my second year now teaching education courses. I have the privilege of teaching the Education Academy, which is our capstone course where students get to go into the field and student teach. And as we talk about education and being a teacher, I loved being an engineer. But the investment that you make in lives as an educator, there's just nothing that compares to that. The reality is teaching is probably the most work that I've had of any job that I've had. And I've had lots of jobs and part-time jobs and being an engineer, but it's the most satisfying work. And that is because you get to harness creativity on a daily basis. You get to see the fruits of everything that you do with the relationships with your students, and you get to see their successes. It's a humbling position to be in, but it is by far the most rewarding career. And as Mr. Castro said, even going from a major career shift from engineering, which oftentimes people say, how would you make that switch to being a teacher? There has never been a day that I've regretted that switch. It has been an amazing journey.
Well, thank you, Tim, for sharing that. And I hope everyone that's kind of listening and all of our panelists are just hearing passion. And I think that word has come to mind so clearly for what you've heard. And interesting, each one has kind of changed a little bit about what they do, and even within the field of education or from without and going into it. But there's so many opportunities to continue to reinvent yourself and be creative and even develop your own passions there. So let's jump into some of kind of the nuts and bolts questions here. So we have some parents and students here that are listening in. So for any of our panelists, let me start with the two that are currently teaching in the pathway. Walk our guests here through what are the course of pathways if a student is thinking maybe secondary education. What does that look like for them in our pathway?
Yeah, Jeff, I'll go ahead and speak to that. We really have a lot of amazing opportunities within that. So as I mentioned before, the Education Academy is your capstone course, and that's as a senior. It's a bigger commitment, but it is truly a student teaching experience where you go out to classrooms and student teach. And I really want to speak to this because there are individuals that go to college and say, I want to be a teacher, but don't student teach until they're a senior in college. And there have been students that said, you know what, this isn't for me. Or it solidified their passion, which is amazing. But the value of this career pathway is you get to experience being in a classroom as a high school student to really just see if that's where your passion lies. And if it does, you get to really work on that craft of teaching. You'll be way ahead of those that go on to college to pursue it. Now, prior to that, we have Foundations of Learning and Intro to Teaching Methods, and those are 2 semester courses. We also have another year's worth of courses. We have College Intro to Education, and we have Teacher Intern Program. There are some developments where we're going to have even more offerings in terms of dual credit, but that's our current class structure. And then you have the Education Academy as a senior. And coupling with that, we have opportunities for early education as well, with various programs in each building, which differs. But those are some of the opportunities that you have. It is currently a three-year education program, but within there, Principal Wardle mentioned that there are other classes that you can also add in there that would be a good fit to offer you a lot of dual credit and AP options.
Thank you. I think that's a great run through. Anything, Mr. Castro, to add to there?
I think Tim said it well. He described it very well. However, I want to emphasize the opportunities that our district offers. For example, I'm just going to give you one example. I've been in the Spanish department for a few years, and you can come out with college credit sophomore year, depending on how many years you've taken. But you could take AP Lang, AP Lit Spanish, and all those three will definitely support your teaching career in terms of the marketing aspect of it, and not only the marketing, but your ability to help other students that are different. And so we offer so much at District 214 that looking at it from a holistic point of view, and just I would recommend that people start thinking about that. The different opportunities that line up with education. And so, and of course, Tim said, having that experience, I wish that many teachers that enroll in college would have had that experience beforehand. It would have gave them a different perspective, and it would have helped them out in many ways. So thank you, Tim, for sharing that.
Yes, Sheila, please.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to jump in because an opportunity that is pretty amazing that we have, and I think it's in all schools, we have a junior leader, senior leader program. So if you want to get experience, right? So in addition to all the other courses, as juniors, you can take a course, right, in lieu of PE, where you're learning how to do group work. You're learning how to motivate students. You're learning how to work side by side with the PE teacher. And then senior year, you are a senior leader. And it's a pretty special program. I've had some students that want to be coaches as well, right? Along with being an educator. And that's kind of another opportunity that you might not be aware of. And then the other piece, we're really fortunate in 214 that now we have that built-in College Intro to Ed and Teacher Internship. But in addition to that, I'm a huge advocate of our D214 Internship program. So I have a student right now that's at NWSRA. So she's doing the sequence, College Intro to Ed, but she's doing an internship outside of school. She's going to do the teacher internship program next semester, but she's also doing it now, working with special education students through the Park District. And so that we just have so many great opportunities that I think that's really important. And I think Mr. Castro was talking about, right? It's either going to affirm what you want to do, right? Or you're going to decide, oh, I don't want this. Or you're going to say, you know what? I don't want to work with little kids. I want to work with high schoolers. So.
And Jeff, just not to steal your thunder as we move to some of the additional questions, but the idea of what can students be doing if this is a career that they're interested in. And I think both Sheila and Mr. Castro were starting to allude to that too, all the different opportunities, and I see some students and Connor and Ernest, it's great to see your faces as you guys are listening in. If this is a career that you're interested in, we mentioned, the leadership opportunities, but that is one of the key components. If I were a student right now and I was thinking, I want to see if teaching is something that I'm passionate about, find opportunities to work with people, to develop those skills, whether it's through tutoring, mentoring programs, working with young people. The beauty of the Education Academy is you get placed in elementary and middle school, and through our various the teacher intern program, which is evolving. There will be in-house and high school. You'll get a lot of exposure to the different age levels. I have seen a teacher who said, or a student who said, I want to teach middle school. And they were in a kindergarten classroom and came out saying, I loved kindergarten. Just again, that's another opportunity within our program, but outside of our program, look for opportunities. I know the buildings have tutoring programs, again, in every building that you can be a part of. And so I just want to highlight that and piggyback off of what was just mentioned, because there are a lot of opportunities to already foster that passion that you have and see if it's something that you enjoy.
No, thank you for that. I want to go to the counseling perspective again and start this question there. And the question is, you've seen, I'm sure, a lot of students kind of think about becoming a teacher and going through the education pathways it's developed, but what would be those attributes or skills you think are really important to be successful in the education pathway?
So I think definitely patience, right? Energy, passion. And I think you see that here. You have to love what you're doing. You have to kind of be prepared for the unexpected, right? So you come in to, you start your day, you think you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and then something else happens. So kind of being ready, being empathic. So a huge part of education, it's about relationships and it's about connecting with students. So just that ability to, and that kind of relates to whether you take sociology, AP Psych, it's different in different buildings. Just making sure you're understanding development and that you are relatable, personable, that you like people. I think it helps to have a sense of humor, but I don't think that's a requirement. I'm probably not the funniest person, but I think being able to like juggle competing demands, because there's a lot of things that are kind of thrown at you. You definitely have to like public speaking, and like I know some students that are taking acting to help them develop those skills as an orator and feel more comfortable performing, because you're performing right when you're teaching. So that's really important. And then I would add being tech savvy. You don't have to be a tech expert, but being able to, especially now with remote learning, and oh my gosh, I feel like I'm learning every day. Let me think. I think I said open-minded, organized. Yeah, I think that's probably it. I'm sure our teachers would add to that.
Yeah, so for Mr. Castro, Mr. Koziak, anything to add to as you are now working with students within that pathway? What are some of those kind of attributes that you're developing or that you see that help students become successful?
As I'm reflecting on this question, I think it's really important to note that being a good teacher, although there's the teachertainment component and you're in front of people, there are also some introverted people that are amazing teachers. And I watched a video, The Power of an Introvert, and was really challenged. And I've shared that with my Ed Academy students, that there's different leadership strengths in any personality that's out there. And I've seen some amazing teachers who are much quieter individuals, and they connect with students in a very powerful way. And then there are those that are outgoing. I think the key component there is a relationship with your students. I heard the word empathy, understanding their story, knowing where they're coming from, and having a desire to know that. Now, professionally, in the actual craft of teaching and instruction and practice, I think for me, the most important thing is you have to be reflective. You have to be reflecting on how well you did and being willing to change things and grow. I think we've all been in a situation where you may have experienced a teacher who doesn't feel maybe as innovative or seems a little drier or hasn't really changed a whole lot. And then you have teachers who are on the cutting edge trying things. I hope that when I'm 50 years old, I'm still trying new things, because that's what makes this teaching career so fun and innovative, is trying new things and reflecting on your practice. So that's one word or characteristic I personally think is the most important. Mr. Castro, what do you think?
I would definitely agree. And just to put it in my own words, kind of reflecting on what you said, it's that whole idea of a growth mindset. I think as humans, we are imperfect. We're all learning all the time, and we are trying to make things better. And I think that growth mindset, that perspective of life, there's this whole sequence, what you think and see becomes your thoughts. What you see and hear becomes your thoughts. Your thoughts become your emotions. Emotions become your actions. And I think at the beginning, a lot of great teachers have that growth mindset where they see it as an adventure, and we fail, and I recognize that, but it makes me stronger. It makes me better because my students see what it means to have resilience, right? And then the next time I make it better, they see what it means to have success. And I think that all encompasses leadership. And leadership, has to do with having the character, which means empathy, self-control, perseverance, faith, right? In kids, right? And it also means having the cognitive ability to keep learning, right? And so it's really an adventure, and that's why I love teaching, because when you're a teacher and your students see you grow, and they see you with the passion and try hard, I think that inspires them. And I think as teachers, we really can't control kids as much as we want to. We have to inspire them, like we could kind of punish them if we wanted to, but I think kids respond better when we inspire them by our own example. And I think that's I think that was what Tim was saying, and Miss Rudden was also alluding to. And so I think I would go with that growth mindset.
As you mentioned, Ricky, kind of being that example. So I'm going to ask a question for each of you, maybe to answer and be reflective in the moment. So here's the question. This has been a very different educational experience for all of us these last 6 months. Can you give us even one example of how you've been reflective and you've even been creative and tried something new, maybe tried and failed and learned something new, or were reflective and changed your practices even in the last few weeks, months, in this new kind of COVID world? Open up to anyone to answer that one.
Well, I will jump in, and I'm laughing because as my principal, we've had some of these conversations recently. My motto has been this: I'm not looking at the limitations, I'm only seeing possibilities. And I believe that this year, as difficult as it is, as a teacher in practice, it is providing countless opportunities to grow as an educator with skills that are going to make us better in the future. But in terms of being reflective, I've been asking students, what works best for you and what can I do to make it better for you? As simple as using Schoology and rearranging my folders in a way that they told me was easier for them. And I've been trying new things. With one of my classes, I met with each student for 10 minutes and did a one-on-one interview. I will tell you, it was phenomenal. And that Ed Academy class, I feel like we've had relationships this year, despite being virtual, that I may not have had in my other classrooms for 15 years, to be honest with you, because we took one-on-one time and their feedback has been tremendous. I'm not going to go through a long list. A small one is just rearranging folders as I'm gathering feedback from students. But there have been a plethora of opportunities to get feedback from students. And I've even allowed students to lead some activities simply because I'm learning from them. I think the motto is let's learn together, let's grow together. And then at the end of that, let's talk about what works and what doesn't work. And I think that's part of the beauty and the joy of this job, is learning in every opportunity.
Great. Other panelists.
I can jump in. So something that I was really, really concerned about was reaching out to students, right? Especially so now that students are starting later in the day and then they're in classes, we have very few, as counselors, opportunities to get students. We have like really early in the morning. It's really hard to invite someone to meet at 7:30, right? So those prime times it's been really challenging. And so I know, like for me personally, I've discovered the my Google Voice number, and I've been texting students. So it's really transformed my ability to connect with students, and I know some students are probably like, oh, this is creepy. My counselor's texting me, but it is amazing how the responses I'm getting, like, hey, QuestBridge, you got a deadline on the 15th. I text a student and then they're getting back to me within a minute. So something that I thought was going to be a nightmare, it really has ended up like really been, I feel like I've almost been able to communicate better. Like it's increased my responsiveness and my ability to track people down. As long as they have a cell phone, having a cell phone really helps. And then the other thing that has worked out really well at Meadows, everyone has seminars, 6th block in the whole building. So we're all competing, right? Everyone, that's when people are getting help, they're seeing people. And so we've kind of started doing just open office hours, and it's been amazing. The people are just, because that was kind of my fear, like we're inaccessible, and it is kind of hard to do some of the social emotional stuff over Zoom. You know, you don't get that full body experience. It's a little bit cold when you're doing that through the computer, but just students knowing every other day, 6th block, they can Zoom in with me, even if it's just for 5 minutes. So those are things that have been real positives that I'm surprised. And I'm not a big tech savvy person. so.
Great, thank you.
And I would add, I've had to become more creative when in terms of embedding my own personality. So I didn't bring my Nacho Libre mask, but I would have put it on for you guys. And so I have a strobe light in my classroom as well. And so we have those moments where when Nacho comes, or actually my name is I have a nickname. So and so when that guy comes on, it's kind of like trying to encourage and motivate them. But one thing I've also had to become more creative with the social and emotional. A lot of families are going through many issues. And so just embedding surveys, embedding different activities, their own reflective moments within the curriculum has helped me become better. And it's been interesting. Like I said before, this is such an incredible job. It's such, we're fighting for democracy in many ways. And what I feel like I'm the first line of defense, where I connect these students with the counselor, with the social workers, with whatever they need, because we are that connection to the community. And so finding ways to embed that in the curriculum has been a way to kind of enhance my curriculum. And in addition to that, I've really moved to a blended learning model, which is really fun. I've make a lot of these videos, like funny videos, and I teach my whole lesson in a video. And then I have these moments where I have instructional time. But then thereafter, I give kids the options. Those that have the skill can go and practice, but those that need extra help, they stay in a breakout room with me, and I guide them through that. And it's become a very differentiated in many ways. But there's so many ways that we are, with the different apps. I've never tried. This year I've used so many new apps, and I picked the best ones for our class. And so just seeing how technology also makes us better teachers, has been we've been forced to do it. But that's the beauty of becoming a teacher, where we're learning as we go. And Tim said it really well. We ask the kids' input, right? And I think that they feel their voice being heard, and they feel they're part of a class when we do that. And that contributes to motivation, buy-in, and that's a democracy too, right? I think when we listen to each other and we adapt everything to meet the highest well-being. So yeah, no, I think that those are a few examples that I've been doing.
Thank you, Mr. Castro. I'm curious if part of the reflection process and trying to get better all the time is what brought the strobe light into your classroom. I'm very curious about this strobe light. Tell us about that.
I don't know. I think the kids like the EDM thing, and they like the lights. It makes them wake up, I think, and especially when at 10 a.m. So
yeah.
It wakes me up. Yeah, I can bring it at time. Yeah,
as a teacher, there's so much creativity, right? Who would have thought? You can't do that in an office job. Not the same. So thank you for that. Again, I'm going to throw out a question I think anyone can answer, but I know, Tim, you have the education pathway, and again, as a counselor, and Ricky, and just all the ways you've taught. But one thing in 214 that we try to really emphasize is internships and external experiences. And I know, at least, in my life, it was an external experience that got me to change majors and become a teacher. What have you seen in students, maybe a story or an example of, being in a classroom or having an experience and how it changed the trajectory or changed their passion or made them think differently about being or not being a teacher? Tell us some stories. Yes.
I have a great story. So when I was a counselor at Wheeling, I had a student, and she knew from the day that I met her that she was going to be an elementary school teacher. She took all the classes, she was in practicum and the preschool, and then she did an internship. And she was a great student doing all the right things. And I remember checking in with her, and I'm like, "Oh, how's it going?" And she just flat out told me, "I hate it. This isn't what I want." She thought that she wanted to be in elementary ed. So you guys are all here because it's secondary. And I think a lot of people don't understand the difference. I mean, I know that everyone went through schooling themselves, but that experience completely, that saved her down the road, right? And then I have one other story that's really powerful. I had a student that did an internship at a daycare, and not only they ended up offering her a job, she ended up going to Harper. She had this job, and then she ended up continuing on in like she was in early childhood. But and I actually did an internship a long time ago when I was in District 214, and it was powerful for me. And so just from personal experience, I think it's really life changing. Even if you have a bad experience, that's powerful. That helps you. So those are my stories.
Great story. Great story. Tim or
Uh,
Ricky?
Watching students in the classroom last year was just amazing. I had students that wanted to be high school teachers that were placed in a first grade classroom. One of the things I continually reminded them, as they went through different rotations, there are aspects of teaching that apply to any classroom. In fact, for me, sitting in a kindergarten classroom and watching the classroom management of a teacher who had very specific tasks for students to do, in the way that she managed it taught me something about how to do classroom management. So there are things to learn in any classroom setting. And so watching a student who wanted to be a high school student be in a first grade classroom and a third grade classroom, but to watch all that he learned was really profound as he's gone on to continue to pursue that. I also had the opportunity to watch a student teach a middle school class how to light a Bunsen burner. And I watched her stand in front of the room, and she had practiced it multiple times. And then I was there to observe her, which just adds this bit of stress. I would have been stressed, and it wouldn't light. And she tried all this stuff and never lost her cool. It solidified for me that she is going to be an excellent teacher. And to experience that just blew my mind, that I got to be there and watch a high school student in the middle of a bunch of middle schoolers not get overwhelmed in that moment was just was pretty amazing. But you asked too if it was career changing and where you've seen a pivotal moment. We have a teacher at our school who, her son, again, that was what I was alluding to earlier, and that's the value of this program in a night like this. Their son invested in 4 years of college and decided as a senior they didn't want to be a teacher. And that breaks my heart to hear that. Number one, because I love this career and I think it's amazing, but they didn't have an opportunity like this. And so, when you talk about those pivotal moments, that to me has been even more profound than some of the stories I have, because most of my students have actually just solidified where they want to teach, what they want to teach, and have really been excited about it. But there have been those that have missed a calling, missed out on 4 years of maybe pursuing something different that they had a passion about. And that's the value of tonight and investigating this.
Fantastic.
So, I want to thank Megan Knight, because a few years ago, we're talking about like 5 or 6 years ago, we had this idea. We wanted to actually create a park district within a community at our school that did not have a park district, that did not have a park. They did not have access to green areas, and it's a mobile home park. And so we started this summer camp program. And first year we had like 80, then every year it kept going, 50 more. Last time we did it, 2019, we had over 200 kids, and we're talking about K through 5th kids. And our students from the high school and the middle school, over 100, were running the camps. So they were running them as camp leaders. And so they were doing, a few students were running, they were doing internships in STEM. Others were doing it in sports. Others were doing reading and dancing. And so the students would rotate through each station. And, out of those 100, I always see those students becoming or going into the ed prep program, because they really experience something great. Now, not everyone goes through it, right? We're talking about a percentage that really felt like they, through experience, and their worldview expanded, so they saw themselves in a position that in education, right? Otherwise, if they had not experienced that, they would not have necessarily seen themselves in education. And we have a lot of students that are in the pipeline right now. Jasmine Bautista, Samantha Paliez, Nelson Garcia, just so many in the pipeline. But I think actually making a difference in our community and giving kids the opportunity to do that has given them that moment to see themselves as teachers. So
awesome. We have just a couple more minutes. So what I want to do is give like 30 seconds to each of our panelists. Final word of encouragement to these future educators about this possible career.
Well, I will go ahead and start, because as I was listening to Mr. Castro, a thought in my head is this: I left engineering, I went into teaching, and I have unlimited creativity. You have the ability to design and create lessons, to shoot for the moon with ideas, make an impact on students' lives. The most important people in your classroom are those students. There's nothing more rewarding than personally constantly growing. And so it is a career that is full of adventure, meaningful, enjoyable, challenging, and there's not a single day that ever feels the same. There's not a single period that ever feels the same. And that's one of the joys of this job.
Awesome.
I'll go. I would say just jump in, explore, don't hold back, and let your heart, it's sort of in your passion, right, lead you, and be open-minded, because the reality is you might change your mind 5 times, 10 times, but the opportunities are there. So I would say, like, get involved, talk to people, use your support systems, and look at these like amazing teachers. I mean, there's so many great people that you can talk to, ask questions, attend these career nights. You're already doing it, you're here. So take advantage of those things. And it is very rewarding, super, it's hard work, but it's so rewarding. So that's what I would say.
I would say love yourself right now. Value yourself, accept yourself for who you are. Because if you invest in yourself right now and explore and grow and do many things to build yourself up, you're going to be able to give so much back. And so right now I would say invest in yourself and really learn why you're valuable, right? And I think that's going to be an incredible thing when you become a teacher. You're going to have so much to give and so much to be at peace with as well. If you just value yourself and learn to value yourself as a person. So.
Wow, those are all 3 amazing last kind of words and challenges. So I want to thank each one of the panelists again. I want to thank each one of the students and parents and those that are on. And Megan, anything kind of final to wrap up here?
No, I just want to echo what you just said, Mr. Wardle. Thank you so much to our panelists for sharing your stories and giving us your time this evening. We're so grateful. Thanks to Mr. Wardle for moderating. He was fantastic. And then to everybody who participated this evening, we're so thankful that you spent some time with us. This recording of tonight's panel discussion will be posted on our discover214.org website, along with recordings of all the other panel discussions that occurred across our pathways. So we encourage you to check those out, take a look at some of the pre-recorded sessions around dual credit, things that might be of interest to you too. And again, we just want to say thank you for joining us this evening, and we hope you have a great night. Stay well and healthy, everybody.